Hey guys, this will be video 2 for the how to design build a custom flying V, and I'm just going to dive right in and talk about what's in front of us. This is late 1800s antique pine. This is flying V number 7 of, uh, uh, of about 140 guitars that I've built. And I'm just going to stop because I don't want to get historical and start talking about that. But I've been building guitars for an extremely long time. To me, a long time is 20, 30 years. And that's pretty much how long I've been building guitars. Seriously, started in 2002 or 3 and was actually going to make a career of it. But you know how life is, we go in different directions. But in other words, I've built a lot of guitars, and from a mindset of what do I need to do to maximize the value of a guitar, not just for me as the seller, the builder seller, but for whomever may buy this guitar. If they elect to sell it or trade it, what is it that I should or should not do that's always going to maximize the value of that guitar? So I try to always think along those lines, even if I'm doing some sort of hybrid build. I try not to get too crazy, but nonetheless, again, I'm just going to stop because I don't want to start talking about hybrid guitars and conceptual guitars and stuff like that. Because this guitar, I just want to start providing some of the information as to what it is and what it's going to be, and because it's going to be auctioned off as well. And probably within a couple of weeks, I should have this one ready to be listed within a week and a half, and then we'll see where it may end up going. The last one went to Arizona, and I do have one up in Boston, and I have one in Texas, and I can't remember where the other two went. They were up north somewhere. I haven't shipped any V's internationally, although a lot of my early jazz guitars, I used to build the big hollow body archtop jazz guitars. A lot of them went to Europe, and so I've shipped guitars all over Europe, the UK, and Europe. Same thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. Japan, Australia. Shipped a guitar to Russia once, which I was a nervous wreck. That was a long time ago, but the guy was really cool. He was funny. He was really dry personality, but he left me positive feedback. So that was like 17 years ago. I thought it's really interesting how the Russian people are like really serious and kind of dry, but they were a no BS type, or he was a no BS type guy. And all of the Russians that I've ever met always thought a lot of them. So I'm going to stop because I'm digressing there. What's in front of us is a Flying V that is based on my own designs. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm very, very close to the historical specs, as I've always mentioned in my videos. But nonetheless, my dimensions from here to here, per the online information, are identical to a 50s Flying V. From here to here should be identical to a 50s Carina Flying V. My shoulders, per online information, I'm ever so slightly wider, but I'm talking a 1/16 of an inch on either side. But you'd be surprised, it shows, especially in a footprint that small. When you increase a 1/16 of an inch, it's not exponential, but from a percentage standpoint, it really shows up. Okay, this is all rough, extremely rough, but it's paint grade. And I'm not going to talk about the tone aspects of this wood because I just did a 30-minute video talking about this body, and I'll be, when I started checking the video, I hit the delete feature and I deleted the whole video. So in other words, this is take 2. Okay, and I'm just not going to talk about the wood anymore because a little while ago I got talking about where this wood came from. It's from the late 1800s. It's from an old schoolhouse that my dad and my grandpa tore down. But then I gave the history behind that, and I realized, wow, what a waste of time. Nobody cares about that. But all they care about, this is antique pine. It's quarter sawn. Quarter sawn wood is far, far more stable. And you can see the quarter sawn, how the grain goes basically, the grain is perpendicular to the top and the bottom. That defines a quarter sawn body. Okay, and same thing for necks, but that's a different story. So you can see that the fact that it is true quarter sawn pine. And and is it pretty? No, hell no, man. It looks awful. It looks rough. It looks like you wouldn't even use it to build a farm implement or whatever they call them, like a wheelbarrow. But man, oh man, does it ever sound incredible. And if you got earbuds in, you might want to pull them out, or if you got your volume up, you might want to turn it down. I'm going to do what's called a tap tone. We're going to slam into this thing a little bit and show you just how resonant it is. I'm basically holding it kind of like that right there. So 3, 2, 1. Nice and bright in the middle. But the thing about the Flying V, it gets real deep and dark and complex out here. And it's just so cool how it should be darker on this side because you did a relief work or chamber. I'm going to call that chamber work. Anyway, so that's weird. It's actually darker. Oh yeah, I said it wrong. It's usually going to be darker. It's darker if you did controller. I'm just going to stop because I'm almost confusing myself, and I don't want to lose anybody. But nonetheless, it's ugly, but it's going to get the gold sparkle top. And I'm about to do that as soon as this video ends. And I've covered that in past videos. I'll just talk about it, but it's a 3M product. And it's very simple to do as long as you read the instructions. But if you don't read the instructions and you get in a hurry and you slip up and this baby makes contact, game over. Unless you got your heat gun out. You'll have to heat gun it loose and probably scrape all the glue loose. And I'm going to stop talking about horror stories because it only took me one time to learn that lesson. Basically, you'll destroy the laminate trying to get it off the body. So if you screw up, don't anticipate reusing it. You probably won't be able to. But it's going to have a sparkle top, and it's going to have cream binding, and this is 1 11/16 of an inch thick. Okay, which I have found to be visually just absolutely stunning. It's the perfect thickness. It's not too thin, certainly not too thick. I've built them 1 3/4, 1 7/8. I actually built one 2 1/4 once. It was a little small hollow body-esque type guitar. It was a funky little design. It didn't look anything like this, but it was, you could look at it and go, oh, that's kind of like a Flying V. But it wasn't anything like this, but it was thick. It was a hollow body arch top. But so 1 11/16, 1 5/8 is the threshold. I wouldn't go any thinner than that. Okay. All right. Let me check the time. Make sure. What time is that? 8 minutes. Wow. I'm not sure where 8 minutes just went. So let's talk about this guitar. How did I get here? After I glued it all up, I elected to glue everything up parallel, and then I started to do some engineering and some pencil work, marker work. But basically, the first thing I did was I just grabbed my template up, and this is bar none finished, and it is so phenomenal how precise it is. It's just spot on. So I can trust this template to just lay up here on. If I had a big rectangular board, sky's the limit. I can put it this way if I want, or I can put it that way. It doesn't matter. Wherever I tack this down, I'm going to end up with a phenomenal guitar. And when I say finished, phenomenal, even this right here, I'm already finished in my widths right there. So once I did my router work, she ended up being basically a finished guitar. Okay. So per my template design. And then while I had it in that location, I went ahead and put it on the drill press and drilled these locations, the control cavity locations. Then I pulled that cover off, flipped it over, tacked it back down, used little bitty micro brass nails, little finish nails. I used what I did. You can see them right there. See, this used to be really long. I tacked them up here, and I put one tack here and one tack there. That baby's not going anywhere. And then I just freehand routed it and had all the route work finished within, I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half. Left that a 1/2 inch thick, real nice thick top to receive your long shaft potentiometers. I always go with long shaft potentiometers because my theory is the more wood I can leave in the body. Okay, if this was super thin, you'd have this beautiful resonance here, and then all of a sudden, if you went over here, it would sound like cardboard paper. Now, this is not going to sound as good right here as it does out here, but just listen. See, it still has some tonal qualities right there, even though it's a huge chamber. Why? Because I left it a 1/2 inch thick. It's actually slightly over a 1/2 inch thick. And if you really wanted to split some hairs, you could leave this thing super, super thick, and you could drill, you could take Forstner bits and drill large locations for this to recess down in there. We're truly splitting hairs with that right there, but would it affect the tone? I bet it probably would. Not much, but it would a little bit. Or it could. We'll say it could. It certainly wouldn't hurt the tone. The more wood you can leave in, the brighter the guitar is going to be. And again, this is pretty much my own particular design. Because I don't recall seeing, I'm not saying it hasn't been done before, but I don't recall seeing anyone else build a V this way. And then I always, because I'm so thick right there, I have to do stepped Forstner bit work. I have to do 2 different steps. One step is to receive the frame, and then the other step, the big step, allows this little throw motion to get wider and to not bind. That should make sense. Because if you just drilled a 5/8 inch hole all the way down there and then you hit the toggle, well, that little throw would hit the wall, and it would not allow it to function. Okay. So let's build the guitar real quickly here and mock it up. Oh, very important, very important. That is a deep well nut. Allows you to leave that body as thick as possible. Oh, not bad. Just always remember that. Oh, I did have it correct the first time. The 3 lugs go up, it clears better, and the 2 lugs go down. And once you get the red sparkle on there, you know, it'll fill up that space, and then the washer, and then the. So they come together very quickly, you know. And at this point, if you were undecided, just know that these locations right here are pretty much historically accurate. They're very, very close to historical, everything about them. But then the sky's the limit related to the bridge you do. Because, see, you could come in, obviously, the fact that this is the ABR1 location, traditional bridge, that would be your hard tailpiece location. And the way the Vibramate was designed, you simply pull the strings off, take the tailpiece off, pull the studs out, and you have a different type of bolt that is machined with a I can't think what they call it. It's a flat head, but then it's a tapered backside, and then you, within 15 minutes, you can install a B5 Bigsby on your Flying V. Okay, how cool is that? And then if you don't like it, within 15 minutes, you can go back to a hardtail. And you never, because of this design, see this cantilevers. This, you don't have to fasten. If you did a really good job, like epoxying your anchors in, you would not want to go with this Bigsby unless you knew what you were doing and you were confident that your anchors were in extremely tight, so much so that even tighter than what would be acceptable for the traditional hardtail. And I'm gonna stop because I don't want to talk about Bigsby's. But my first B5 on a Flying V was a failure because it was doing too much movement back here, and there was a strong part of me. I almost came in and just put some screws back here, but I didn't want to because I was going to sell that guitar. So let's say if you were going to build this Flying V and you were going to keep it or give it to your kid or your grandkid or something like that, I'd recommend going ahead and putting some screws back here where you truly fasten into the bottom, into the body. Maybe put a little brass spacer under there, okay? Something to keep it nice and level, but that will make the Bigsby 100% as effective and secure as the hardtail. Uh, but don't expect these two bolts up here to hold you in tune with the Bigsby. And I spent way too much time talking about that, but just proceed with caution with the B5. The whole cantilevering thing. In other words, a B5 on the Vibramate on a Gibson product. Or you could come in with your big hair band shredder. I couldn't think what they're called. Floyd Rose, which I love doing the Floyd Rose from time to time, but very rarely. I like doing a Floyd Rose about every 10th guitar that I build, maybe 7th to 10th. And then all of a sudden I'll find myself on eBay looking at old vintage Floyd Rose. Usually what defines whether I build a guitar with a Floyd Rose is whether I found one for a smoking deal and it was like authentic, all, the German. Let me check the time. 17 minutes of Flying V and what's that thing called? Bigsby Rambling. So let me get back on point here. Yeah, I do love the Floyd Rose, and what better suited than this design right here for a Floyd Rose? I mean, Randy Rhoads. Well, I don't know. You guys correct me. I don't know if Randy Rhoads ever had a Floyd Rose on a traditional Flying V. I know that on his Jackson, he had the tremolo, but that wasn't a vintage-esque design. So anyway, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Randy was one of the first ones that did a Flying V style guitar with a tremolo on it. I may be wrong about that, and it's irrelevant. So anyway, one thing I probably want to talk about a little bit here is my unique design. I've talked about this enough to drive it home, but I like the output jack in this location right here, but it requires that you have to do a little bit of engineering, a little bit of trickery. So what you do is you bore this hole first, and obviously centered. It's a 7/8 inch hole, and then I think this ends up being about 1.25 inches, maybe a little bit more. And then you just want your long drill bit. I don't like the idea of routing across the top of a body or across the top of the body here. I hate that. I hate that beyond explanation. But what I don't have a problem doing is engineering the fact that, you couldn't come in and do a 90, but you also have to think about where the wire is going to come into the control control cavity. So in other words, it's on a 90-degree angle here, such that once the drill bit reaches the pocket over here, it's at the very, very bottom. And I'm not going to try to show that, but it's at the very bottom of that. And you should be able to hit that without me explaining it. And it's just a clean, straight, it's not tapered down, it's not tapered up, none of that crap. Just do a clean, straight shot, and then come in with a dowel and epoxy and fill that in. And then over the course of the build, sand it, fill it, sand it, fill it, fight it, sand it, fill it, so that by the time the guitar's finished, you'd look at it, you'd never know that there was a dowel in there. Don't do that with Type Bond. You'll probably never ever get it to be concealed. Always use epoxy for stuff like that. Okay, check the time again. 19 minutes. What's next? Because I lost the first video, I can't remember what I covered at the beginning of this video. So I guess I'll just leave this in place. Probably just, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the templates because I did use the Stuart McDonald templates on this. So let's say I'm sitting there with a large block of wood in front of me and it's rough as hell. It looks horrible. What's the most important thing? Before I glued all this up, I did machine every one of these 1 11/16 of an inch thick precision. Sorry about that. Through my planer, so I was confident that I had a perfectly S4S boards. Glued everything up. Still looked rough. But nonetheless, I knew it was going to be beautiful, and I made certain that the top was beautiful and level. And then the first thing I did was just came in. I may have already covered this. So I apologize if it'll be a bit of a repeat. Started out with this one, drilled those locations, flipped it over, routed out that location. I'm pretty sure I've already covered this in this video, but I don't think I talked much about this right here. This is where I like having the Stuart McDonald templates, because if you order the templates for the Les Paul, this is a 50s Les Paul based on Dan Erlewine's 59 burst, I believe, that he owned quite a while back. So you have this template here that's primarily the pickup locations and electronics location. Just there's a combination, so you can do front routing and back routing. But if I had to pick between the two, I would really want this one right here. This is the one that's the most valuable, because once I elected to go with the 24 3/4 inch scale, which is historically accurate, all I had to do was find out what is the distance between the 16th fret location on the Les Paul to the 18th fret location on the Les Paul, and I could put some tape there and make a little mark, because I build my flying V's with the neck joining the body at the 18th fret, which is this location right here. Don't let this confuse you, because I'm leaving this body long for right now. I'm a little bit undecided how I'm going to finish this heel. So I wanted to, if anything, just leave it long enough that if I elected to turn this into a bolt-on neck body, like per Leo fender specs, then I'll be able to do it with my design here. I haven't cut too much off yet. Or if I change my mind right there at the last, I might have to set that down. It's heavy trying to hold it right there. Let me see if I can hold it this way. Or if I elect to go with the tenon, pull that template up right there, throw it down in place, pull the trigger on the router, blindfolded, and I've got a Gibson product per 1959 specs. Okay, that ought to make perfect sense. Or with this configuration right here, route out for a Leo fender, bolt-on, pick your poison. Put any neck on there you want. Could put any neck on there that you want. But anyway, after I got this in place, I found these locations right back here, and the very first thing that I did was drill these two holes right here. Then I was able to put that template on there without struggling like I have been struggling. And I use 1/8 inch bits inverted. You find the center line. That's all you have to do. Once you find the center line, all you really have to do is come up here. Keep in mind this was hanging out long. All I had to do is put tape across it. And then I even cut the tape off the top. I only had tape making contact with the end of the template, and then it turned 90 degrees and it made contact there. There was no way that tape would allow that template to move. But just to be safe, I put tape back here and tape back here, and that's all I needed to do the routing. You're thinking, well, how do you route with those drill bits in the way? Well, you pull these drill bits out, and I'm going to stop because I'm going off the rails here. I think I probably threw them away. bamboo skewers. Bamboo skewers are perfect to be just tight enough to guide it, but just loose enough to allow you to do all this taping and hold everything perfectly centered. And then I took my flush cut saw and well, I made a mark, and then I just cut those short, and I dropped them down in there, and I had actually all four locations. In other words, I had a flat surface, and then if I wanted to, I could have routed it on a table, or I like doing all of my routing freehand. So I just came in and freehand routed those four, just in a matter of took me about an hour and 20 minutes maybe to do those, because you're doing all the stepped routing up front versus this pocket is completely different from that pocket depth wise. Okay, so hope I didn't spend too much time there. 25 minutes and 55 seconds. How should I end the video? I'm just going to stop talking. That's how I'm going to end the video. I appreciate you guys checking in. This video series for this guitar, I'm not really going to be showing you how to build it as much as I'm just going to bring you up to date on what I have accomplished for that week, or or the past few days. But I'll try to do a video about every 3 or 4 days on this one. But she's going to come together extremely fast, because I'm about to put the glue the sparkle down, and then I'm going to start shooting nitrocellulose lacquer, and I'm going to start out white. And it's going to be interesting to see what a gold sparkle top Flying V looks like with a white body, and how cool might it be if we do a Honduran mahogany neck with a white stinger, but with a black face the overlay on the front. So I'm kind of thinking of something cool here that no one else has done yet, that is not too much of a deviation from the historical. So, but I definitely am going to start out with this body white. It'll be kind of an antiqued white. Well, not too much. It'll just be white. And then the great thing about paint is, if you don't like that color, you just change it. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you dropping in.